Welcome to the Here I Am talk show with host Jamie Willis, where we discuss today's truths, people's stories, testimonies, healings, miracles, and so much more. Let's get started, honey. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Here I Am show. I'm just so grateful for all of you to be able to watch the show today. We are touching on a subject that I think everybody in the world has gone through. We're going to be discussing about grief and loss of loved ones and friends and family that, that a lot of it just grips your heart and could be eat your heart out. And there are just so many stories that are coming to me about things that are happening with doctors and hospitals that is just totally mind blowing. But we are going to be talking about there's a woman, her name is Beth, and she's such a special lady. She came to me a couple weeks ago telling me her story about her son. And she is on a mission, but she's on God's mission, first of all. And then also a mission of being able to tell the truth about her son and her experience of what happened. But we're also using this show, and this is what this platform is all about, is through God's mercy and love that he can help us through healing, even through loss, even through death. God defeated death. Jesus defeated death on the cross in order to give us life. Any death does not come from God. We can't blame God, but I know a lot of you, think, why would God allow this? But he's given us free will, but also Satan does have a great big grip on this earth. And he is out to steal, kill, and destroy, period. So we are going to bring Beth on. Hi, Beth. How are you?
I'm well. It's nice to be here.
I am just so grateful for you to be on here and to be able to tell your story about your son. I
Thank
know
you for giving me the opportunity.
I know this is the hardest thing that you've ever done in your life,
Oh,
but through
absolutely.
your obedience and your truth and your walk with the Lord is absolutely amazing. And I thank you.
Oh,
And we bring this show in honor of God, but then also in honor and the voice of your son.
yes, Jonathan asked me that was his last request was, tell my story, Mom. Tell my story. And that's what I've been telling his story for 2 years now to anybody that will listen.
And I'm grateful that the Lord has given me this type of platform because these are the stories that need to get out there. These are the tough stories. These are the heart-wrenching stories that need to get out there. Because I know your story we'll get into talking about your son, but we want people to be able to reach out to each other and give support. And then also it's just like, yes, this is my story too. Because there's many people we were discussing before the show. There's many people that are just going through so much grief that that they can't be able to tell other people about the truth about it. But I commend you for that.
I promised him.
Yeah, yeah. So can we start talking a little bit about
Sure.
Jonathan and
Sure.
and what happened?
Um, our entire July 2021, our whole family was sick with COVID. Uh, me, my husband, my daughter, my son, uh, Jonathan's dad, and his wife. All of us were sick, and we all recovered, and he did not. And he got sicker and sicker, and about 10 days in, we carried him to the hospital because I went to his house and he was blue. No oxygen. He was blue and lethargic, and so we called an ambulance and got him to the hospital. Well, before he even got off the gurney, the doctor met us at the hospital and said, "Oh, he's going to die." I mean, just pronounced it then, and I, I said, "You don't get to decide that." And I said, "No, you don't get to decide that." So they admitted him in the hospital, and I told Jonathan was 35 years old. He lived beside me, and he was single, so I kind of took care of him, and I told him before I left. But when they took him up to ICU, I said, "Do not let them put you on the vent, and do not let them give you remdesivir." Well, uh, by the next day they had given him remdesivir, and then within a couple of days he messaged me in the middle of the night, and he said, "Mom, they're fixing to put me on the vent." And then by the time I got to the hospital, that morning it was too late, and he stayed on the vent. He stayed in that hospital 1 week, and then they airlifted him to a different hospital, and he stayed there until September the 25th. And now during that time frame, he woke up. He was able to eat regular food. Um, he was able to talk to us, and he was doing physical therapy and occupational therapy. And we thought he was improving. We never once thought he was not going to leave that hospital. But we did know that every day was warfare when we walked in. We prayed every day before we walked in that hospital because we knew what we were fighting. And that Monday, they called a family meeting and told us his lungs were not going to get well, and that they were going to withdraw care on Saturday. So they gave us all week to plan his death. And I tried everything I knew. I called every attorney that I knew all over the state of Louisiana, begging somebody to help me get an injunction. And nobody would. And on Wednesday, the doctor told me that she was going to remove me from the hospital if I didn't stop. So I went into his room and I said, "Jonathan, tell me what you want me to do." And he said, "Mom, stop. You're not going to win." He said, "These people are evil. They want us dead. And you're not going to win. And I need you with me." So I quit fighting and stayed with him. And all of us, the family, decided when they took him to Shreveport, which is about 2 hours away from where we live, we decided that he was never going to be by himself. And so we were with him every day. Me, my husband, his dad, his stepmom, the four of us were with him. One of us was with him every day, for as long as they would let us stay in the room, because we knew that he wouldn't survive if we weren't there. And so we were with him every day. And so we actually, I don't want to say it's a blessing, but we actually got to be with him and talk to him, where a lot of people didn't get that. A lot of people's loved ones died in the hospitals and they never got to see them. They never got to tell them goodbye. Uh, we did get to see him and we did get to tell him goodbye. So if there is a blessing in it, that would be it.
Yeah.
But the grief, I think losing a child has got to be the worst grief. I just lost both of my parents right before this, not to COVID, but other circumstances, and that hurts, and you grieve, but it's not the same as losing a child, especially when you know your child didn't have to die, and they had told us at one time earlier in his care that they needed the ECMO machine for vaccinated people. It was a constant fight for his care. And anyway, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Grief is tough, and it's hard on all of us.
Yes.
But I promised him that I would tell his story. And that's what he asked me. He said, "Mom, just tell my story." And so that's what I've done. And Jonathan was saved. And he said, "Mom, don't worry about me. I'm going to be with Jesus. Don't worry about me." And he said, "You're not going to win this fight with these people. They're evil." And he said, "They want us all dead." And we actually were told that he wasn't supposed to survive. They didn't know what to do with him. The doctor said, "We don't know what to do with him." Because he woke up from their protocol. He'd been unconscious, for quite a while. And when he woke up, and they just didn't know what to do with him, they said. And
then when he did wake up, what are the things that they did, did they give him medication when he woke up? Or, what type of protocol did they do once he woke up?
Honestly, I don't know the medicines they were giving him. I do know they were giving him remdesivir. And I do know, they'd had to do a trach because he'd been on the vent. But then after they did that, he could talk and eat. And I don't know all of the medicines that they gave him while he was, I really don't know. I do have his medical records. I just haven't been able to go through them.
Yeah. So how long was it from the time that he woke up?
I have a video of him talking to us. Well, not talking because he still had the vent, but he was awake and signing documents on August the 20th. So from August the 20th to September the 25th, he was awake and talking to us, and actually he'd been awake before that. I don't think I have any videos of him before August the 20th. I do have photos of him, laying there, and when he was doing therapy or whatever, I would be videoing, and he said, "Mom, stop." He's like, "Stop it," but I knew to take the videos. I don't know why I knew I needed to take them, but I just knew I had to get this documented, and so I did. And then, of course, it is comforting for me to look at them.
Yeah.
And now the day before they took him off of ECMO, the doctor wanted to take him outside. And I don't know if you're not familiar with ECMO. It's where they take the blood out of your body, run it through a machine for oxygen, and then they put it back in your body. And it's a really difficult thing to move someone that's on ECMO. So it took the entire nursing staff on that floor to get him outside that day. And I said, "Baby," this is the day before they killed him. And I said, "Do you want to do this? Do you want to go outside?" And he said, no, I don't want to. He said, doesn't matter to me, Mom. He said, but doctor wants me to. He said, I guess it's going to make her feel better. he he
Yeah.
said, I'm only letting him do it because she wants to. And he said, it's for her, not for me. And so, but that's his personality. He was a people pleaser. He wanted everybody to be happy. And I've since found out several things that he did for people that we didn't know about. I do know about a little girl that needed some medicine that it was difficult for her family to pay their portion of, their copay of the medicine, and he went to the pharmacy and paid up several months of copay so that little girl could get her medicine, and he didn't tell anybody that. Her mother called me several months after his death and told me. She said, you know that I'm still getting her medicine because he paid for it. So I've heard several stories just like that. And he was such a good person.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
his story is not his life. His story is how he died. His story is the how he faced death with such courage. Such courage that he just said, Mom, I'm going to be with Jesus. Don't you worry about me. And he told me, he said, I do not want you coming to the graveyard. He said, do not come cry over my grave. I'm not going to be there anyway.
No.
So, still to this day, I have not been to the graveyard since the day of the funeral.
And you know what? That's okay.
No,
It's okay. Because, just through Jesus, he defeated death.
right. And that's what he told me. He said, Mom, I'm not going to be there. So I don't want you to come and sit by my grave and cry. He said, don't cry. Don't cry for me.
So during the time that he was in the hospital, did you have any conversations with nurses and the doctors?
Oh, absolutely. Every day.
And what did they say?
Well, we had several months there. When I do know before August 20th, I think it was toward the end of July, he had a lung surgery, and I just can't remember the exact date. The next day, Jonathan was still unconscious and not doing well, not at all, and they did not expect him to live. And one of the doctors was talking about, well, he's going to die anyway. And I said, he's right here laying beside me. I said, he can hear you. I said, don't say that. He can hear you. He goes, he knows he's going to die anyway. He said, it don't matter. He knows. And he said, we need the ECMO machine for vaccinated people anyway. So that's kind of what we fought the entire time we were there.
So pretty much the doctors and the nurses were saying, since he didn't have the shots.
Not the nurses. I will tell you, the nurses were phenomenal.
Were they?
The nurses were fabulous. Well, I had not one complaint about not any nurses. They were so good to us and so good to him. It was the doctors that were in control of the situation. And we even had some doctors talk to us away from there that were really upset with what happened. Doctors that were younger, not decision making, and that were very, very upset about what happened. The day they killed him, and I say they killed him because they turned the ECMO machine off and gave him shots to keep him from breathing. And I had asked the doctor, I said, please don't give him shots. I said, when you turn the machine off, give him a chance to live. I said, just give him a chance. And she said, I don't want him to gurgle I don't want him to be gurgling and gasping for breath, is what she said exactly, gasping for breath. And I said, I want him to gasp for breath. I said, I want him to try to breathe. I said, just give him a chance to live. And she says, well, if he gets his miracle, what I do doesn't matter anyway, does it? So they didn't give him a chance to breathe. And he tried really, really hard. We watched the machine, and it would go down to 0 respirations, and then he was trying to breathe because I was in his ear saying, breathe, baby, breathe, breathe, breathe. And he would. He was trying to breathe, and then they would give him another shot. They gave him a series. I didn't watch them give him the shots because I was looking at him, talking to him. But my husband said they gave him 4 series of 4 shots each series, okay, to keep him from breathing. And I did not see that because I was not paying attention to that. And the room was full of people. They let us all be in there. So it was full of the nurses. It was full of therapy people, the family, other doctors. And we were all in there. And the nurses were so upset what they were doing. And he was next to a stairwell, and we could hear the staff in the stairwell just wailing and crying during this process because they were so distraught over what was happening.
Yeah.
Because he was awake and he was talking, he was doing therapy, he was eating, the nurse, they all knew it was murder.
And during this time that he was able to talk and going through therapy, was he able to be able to talk to these doctors?
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
to tell them to stop these shots?
Well, let me just say what the doctor told us. Because she convinced him, because she told us, she said, oh, I talk to him when y'all leave. She said, I go sit in his room with him every evening and talk to him. So what she did was she convinced him that if he lived, he was going to be a burden to his family. He was going to be on oxygen the rest of his life, and he was not going to have any quality of life, is what she convinced him of. Because she told us that. She said, oh, I talk to him every day. When you guys leave, I go in there and talk to him. So
she was pretty much speaking fear.
She was yes.
And pretty much death.
She was speaking death. She had convinced him that he was going to be a burden to his family.
And this is what we want to get with the viewers too. When we're speaking death over people, that it's another level. It's a spiritual warfare.
Right.
And when you're speaking death over somebody, they can be filled with the Holy Spirit. They can be filled with, the Lord, and they could be saved. They can be, an amazing Christian.
Right.
But still, that is our words that we speak are, the tongue it could be wicked or it could be a blessing.
Right.
And he was battling something that was, you felt as your own, it was out of control.
Right. It was.
And what it does is, with them speaking death over him, that it pretty much shuts your voice down.
Right. It did. And she convinced him that this was the best way to go because he would be a burden to his family.
Yeah.
And he would never have been a burden.
I know he wouldn't have.
And when I was signing his death certificate, I told her, I said, this is not over. This is not over. And she goes, oh, well, I'm not really worried about it. She said, I'm well documented. I'm not concerned. So.
And the reason why, because, the protocol.
Right.
And they've already have what you think is their protection, but it's no, it's not going to be long.
Right.
There's many other people with your stories, unfortunately.
Right. And Louisiana had a moratorium on malpractice cases during COVID. It didn't matter if it was related to COVID or anything else. You couldn't sue a doctor for anything. And so therefore there's no civil process to go after these doctors. I did file complaints with the medical board on 3 of the doctors. And of course, nothing happened with that. And I did go to the Louisiana Attorney General's office. Nothing happened with that. I spoke to numerous representatives. I spoke to my senators. Nothing happened with any of that. They'll talk to me one day, and the next day when I try to talk to them again, they don't even know who I am. They don't even remember having a conversation with me. I've been trying since Jonathan's death to get a meeting with our senator, John Kennedy, senator from Louisiana. I told him I would come to Washington to meet with him. I said, I'll meet you anywhere you want to meet, but I want you to see what's happened. And I have been unable to get an appointment with him for 2 years now. And I even spoke to, I kind of ambushed him at a campaign rally. And he told me as soon as the election was over, he would set up a meeting with me. And that still hasn't happened. It's been over a year now. And his office, of course, don't return phone calls. So I called the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Department euthanasia is illegal in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did was they euthanized him. And I tried to pursue it with the Sheriff's Department, with the police department, with the Attorney General, with the representatives, with the senators. I beat on everybody's door. And I even had one representative from South Louisiana call me and ask me would I testify in front of the Louisiana House last year. And I told her yes, I'd gladly. And the day before I was supposed to go testify, I called her because I hadn't received any information from her. And she said she didn't know who I was and why I called her. and she's the one that called.
Up for re-election?
Honestly, I don't know. And she's from a different district. She's not even my representative. But she's the one that called me. I didn't call her. She called me. And somebody got to her, shut her down. And that's what I've been dealing with for 2 years. But I knew eventually a door was going to open for me to be able to tell his story on a larger platform. I've just been telling his story to individuals. From anywhere I've traveled, I tell people, and they're all in shock. And I pull out my phone and I show them the videos of him talking to us just days before they killed him. And so many people have said, well, why didn't you get him out of that hospital? Y'all should have moved him. Well, when they're on ECMO, you can't. You can't. It goes into the main artery in their neck, and it goes into the machine and into their groin area, carrying the oxygenated blood. You can't. If you pull that tube out, they bleed to death. And you can't just unhook the machine and take them off of it and get them out. And they can't be transported other than air transport with the medical team. We tried. I mean, we tried everything. it's just nobody would help us and nobody would listen. But that was 2 years ago, and people didn't know then what they know now. And I may have better success now than we had at the time, but at the time that we did all we knew to do.
And you did what any other person would do too, that you're supposed to go to the hospital to get better. And
Well, I knew not to take him to the hospital. I knew what happened in the hospitals, but when we found him unconscious, we didn't have a choice. It was either let him die at home or try to save him, and so we tried to save him.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the only reason he ended up in the hospital, is because of when I went in his house, he was almost unconscious, and he was blue.
Yeah.
And
you had no other choice.
Right.
And with you and your family, you did everything that you could to be able to help him and didn't leave him.
No, absolutely not. We stayed. We made a pact. His dad and I. We said we're going to be there every single day, and we did. One of us was there every day with him. We alternated, and my daughter too. Her and her husband, because that's her only brother.
Yeah.
She was there too. My son-in-law was there. We made sure somebody was with him at all times. Yeah. In fact, my husband and I, we took our big camper and we moved it to Shreveport, and we just moved over there. And that way we were there. If anything happened, we could be to the hospital within a couple of minutes. And
during the time, whenever you have a loved one in the hospital, or that they're in any type of, if they're in rehabilitation, people don't realize how draining that is to yourself and your body, and actually in the way that you think.
Yeah.
After my husband, my first husband was in a motorcycle accident. So he was in the hospital for almost 3 months and had to go through rehabilitation. But then, during that time, they didn't know what to do with him.
Right.
And then during that time, he had a major stroke. So they sent him home 2 days after he had the stroke, and he couldn't walk.
Oh, no.
And he fell in the elevator. And so I wheeled him back in, but these doctors did not know what to do with him. But they told him that he could go back to work.
Really?
Yes.
That's so sad.
Yeah. It was, Vanderbilt Hospital here in Nashville. And so, and through the trauma of everything in the motorcycle accident, he wound up passing away 2 months later after he got home.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He had a stroke. But
I'm sorry.
So I know what it's like, in that respect.
Right.
I do not wish or anything for anybody to lose a child, because that is, I don't know what I would do, if I lost any of my children or grandchildren.
Well, I used to say that, and I said, Lord, I can't do that. For years that was, I think that's every parent's fear.
Yeah.
At least it was mine,
Yeah.
To ever have to face that. And here I am.
Yeah.
But you get up every day, you get dressed, and you go out, and you pretend everything's okay. It isn't, but you pretend that it is.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, one of the best things that I did. I did go to a trauma counselor for a while. And but the best thing that I did was I went to a class called Grief Share.
Mm-hmm.
They're held all over the country, um, through churches mostly, and I met some really really wonderful people. And I think going through the Grief Share classes helped me, uh, more than anything. It helped me come to grips with the with the why, uh, all of the questions that you have. And I totally recommend Grief Share to anybody that's going through grief. And it doesn't have to be a child. It can be a spouse, a parent, brother, sister, friend, whatever. If you're struggling with grief, find a Grief Share class. They really do help. And
They have a website.
they do. You can just go to griefshare.org and find a Grief Share class, some in your town. And they are usually through churches, and they're not expensive. And you go several months, I believe. I think it starts in September and it ends mid-December here, and then one starts in March. It ends May or June. So it's a few months that you go, and really good people there, and everybody that leads, that's involved in the class, uh, have gone through the grief. They've lost a spouse, they've lost a child, or whatever, and so they've walked the same road.
Too.
They understand because they've been there. And I will say that Grief Share class was probably one of the best things that I've done. It helped me tremendously.
Well, thank you so much for telling us about that. This is where a lot of grief gets, when the holidays are coming,
Yes,
and that's when it winds up triggering, um, the what if and why, and missing them.
right.
And I did, I miss each and every, I lost both my parents. Um, I have a very small family, but it's through those organizations that they really do help. It's hard, you know, but just stepping out and just doing it. And once you do, and then once you are with other people that are going through the same thing, it really helps, and it's part of the healing.
It is. I
Because we
waited.
can't do it alone. We can't.
No, you can't. I waited a year before I went to Grief Share, and I'm glad I did, because I think some people go too soon and they're not ready yet. So I'm glad I waited. Uh, I think it worked out best for me, by waiting, because I had a whole year to come to grips with
Yeah,
things. And it changes your family dynamics. Um, it changes everything.
it does. When my husband passed away, nothing was the same.
No,
Nothing.
no, and you know
And
I didn't even get to grieve my mother before this happened.
yeah,
No, because she passed right before, just right before all this happened. So I didn't even really get to grieve her. But life goes on. For the rest
yes,
of us, it goes on, and we have to carry on their legacy.
we do. And we
And
have to stand on his promise
that's
that
right.
we will see them again
That's right.
for eternity.
And
Nothing will ever be able to separate us from them. And what a glorious reunion.
right. And
And we're only here for a smidgen,
that's true.
but
But the Bible does tell us.
to be able to go and see him face to face again, of course we want to see Jesus first. That's
Right.
our one and only.
Right. You know,
But to be able to look at your son,
and the Bible tells us this life is but a vapor.
it
You know,
is.
this life is
It
short,
is.
and the next life is eternity. And
Yeah.
so, you know, what I've done is just about every day I say, Lord, what do you want me to do with this today? You know, because I didn't ask for this. I wasn't wishing on my worst enemy. I don't think I have any enemies, but anyway, I wouldn't wish it on them. But um, I was like, okay, Lord, I have this burden. What do I do with it today? What do I do? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? Who do I call? You know,
Mm-hmm.
what do I do? And I had gotten to the point where I had knocked on every door that I possibly could, and nothing opened. So I just put it down and said, okay, I'll just wait on you, Lord. And uh, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to even talk and tell his story. Um,
It is absolutely, my pleasure. And, I humble myself to him because, I don't know where a lot of times, on my platform, I don't know where the next guest is going to come from.
right,
And it's not me, I mean, I networked a little bit, and this is what I did in real estate because I did, I'm still in real estate, been in real estate for 18 years, but I've always learned to wait upon him, and for him to give me the clients who needed the help instead of me forcing things on somebody because I didn't want to be a salesman,
yeah,
the first thing that they do is, they hover over you.
right,
And that's what I don't want to do with my guest. I want them to be able to come on here and feel comfortable and to be able to speak the truth. I don't want them to come on here with fear and um, and sometimes I think, oh man, this would be the greatest guest. Then it turns out that it wasn't his will for him or her to be on the show.
right.
And
And I do appreciate the opportunity.
and I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be able to get to know you, and um, it won't end here because I'm gonna see you shine through our Lord on what He is going to do with you,
Um,
and you are going to reach thousands of people. And this is not me speaking. This is the Holy Spirit speaking. You are going to reach so many hearts of people that are with fear that they don't feel like they have a voice.
well, now that we're talking about that, there is an attorney out of Florida that wants to file some criminal um, a brief requesting criminal action uh, in Louisiana. The Florida laws and Louisiana laws are almost identical when it comes to um, the the statutes of what we're dealing with, and they are filing a brief in Louisiana. And so he did ask me while I did have a platform to put this information out uh, so that if anybody from Louisiana has someone they lost someone in the hospital to and I will get you the information so you can put them in contact. This attorney wants everyone to contact him so they can be included in this brief. This is not criminal. It's not. I mean, this is not civil. It's not for money. This is to hold the uh, doctors, the people that set the protocol up. This is to hold the people that are responsible for all these deaths criminally accountable. And so I'm definitely participating in that, and I would like anybody from Louisiana to get in touch with us too, so we can include them if they would like to be included. And that's one way our loved one's voice can be heard,
Yeah.
is to be included on that brief. Uh, and you don't have to do anything, and it doesn't cost anything, and nobody's getting any money out of it. It's not about that at all. This is criminal because what happened is criminal.
It is.
It's not the doctors made mistakes or whatever. This is criminal,
Yeah.
and
It's criminal. It's genocide.
it is genocide, and they need to be held accountable. And the only way they're going to be held accountable is if the families of all of the people that were killed stand up as one voice. And this is a way to do it, is to join this filing and request that the Attorney General open up a criminal investigation. And I'm hoping this brief does something. Uh, uh, I tried with the Attorney General. That's one of the first things we did. My husband and I went to Baton Rouge, and we met with the Attorney General's staff and told them the story, showed them the videos. And of course, the next time I talked to them, they didn't know who I was. So, I'm hoping that because if we have more voices, they won't be able to ignore it.
Yeah. And that's what we need. We need more people to be able to stand up, that they are not above us.
Right.
They have their jobs because of us.
That's true.
And we do have a voice. And there's a lot of people that are going to wind up shutting us down, which they are.
Right.
But we do have a right to be able to speak, and people are afraid. They get threatened.
They do get threatened. And the nurses, we had people tell us, they didn't agree with what was going on, but what could they do? There was nothing there's nothing they could do about it. And they were very, very upset at what happened. Had he been just unconscious, it would have been maybe a little bit different. But with him in fact, the doctor told us a couple of weeks before, she said, we don't know what to do with him. He wasn't supposed to wake up. We don't know what to do with him. So they expected.
At one point asked just to be released.
We couldn't because he was on the ECMO machine.
Yeah, and he had to be that on, was that 24/7?
24/7.
24/7 on that.
Yeah. So that we couldn't just take him out of the hospital.
Yeah.
So
it's just unbelievable.
Looking back, there are several things that I wish I had done different, but at the time, we did what we knew with the information we had.
No.
And
you did everything possible that you were capable of doing.
We did.
You did.
And we met some really nice people. And I will tell you, Jonathan, he knew his whole life that he was supposed to be an evangelist. And he never followed that calling. And he witnessed to more people in those few months in the hospital than he would have had he been out on the evangelistic trail. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And even one of the doctors called him right before they killed him. One of the doctors that was not working that day called him and did a FaceTime with him and said, Jonathan, I'm so sorry. I can't help you. And he said, I just want you to know. He said, I see Jesus all over you. He said, all I've seen in you this whole time is Jesus. And he said, it's been an honor to be your doctor. So he witnessed to more people during that, uh, during his illness than he ever did in his lifetime.
Yeah. That is absolutely profound. and and just totally grateful for what he has done, and totally grateful for you, because I think um, you're going to be the evangelist that he never was able to be on earth. And an evangelist, that doesn't mean that they have to be screaming and holding the Bible and all that. An evangelist and is somebody who speaks the truth, and who stands by the word, and who stands by God, and who stands by the Holy Spirit, and allowing the Holy Spirit to speak through them. Because through your story, and through your son's story, was not lost at the time that he passed. It just started.
Well, I'm angry, but I'm not angry at God.
No.
Not at all. You know, because I don't know how any of us would have gotten through this without God.
Mm-hmm.
And um, but I am angry. I'm just, but it's not at God, because God didn't do this. You know, the Bible says that Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy, not God.
You know,
You know, and God doesn't take our loved ones. He does. You know, you
there's
just
a difference between, it was brought up to me actually yesterday. There's a difference between anger and righteous anger.
right. There is.
Anger is part of revenge, and hurting somebody, or
Right.
that righteous anger is, you need to be held accountable.
Exactly.
The truth, and this does not come from God. And what you have done is destroyed lives, killed lives, and you killed my people.
Right. Exactly.
And those are two different things. That God says it's okay to have righteous anger, but
And
not to take the anger and, as I said, to spew hate, or spew hurt. Um,
well,
but there are
I
things
have
that
done.
need to be done.
I will admit, over the last couple of years, I actually have done that upon
Yes,
occasion. I
uh,
have.
that's our human nature. How can you not? You know, um, but you learn that, okay. So now I think that before you went into grief counseling, I think it was, you were going through shock, and just going through all these different emotions. And it even says that it takes a year. Do not do anything in a year
Right.
before you go and make these huge major decisions.
Correct.
And so I try to do that, myself, but there were certain things that I had to do,
Right. And there
home.
were things that we had to
Yeah.
do also.
And so but then it was right after the year. um that's when I was able to think better,
Right.
and be able to process things, but that year was horrible.
I don't even remember the first year.
I know, because you're in shock,
Eh, eh,
and
yeah.
you're just going through the motions. You're in survivor mode.
Right. Not you don't sleep. You know. You're right. You're just in survivor mode,
Hmm.
and at least for the first year, and even after that, and I was probably in survivor mode until January of 2023, and I just decided in January. I said, you know what? I got to get up and live, because I'm just going
Yes.
to sit here and die if I don't.
Yeah.
And so I decided to get up and live.
Thank you, Jesus.
And
And I thank you, Beth, for everything that you're doing, and to hold on to, the legacy of your son too, and your strength and your courage of what you're doing, and being obedient. And you always have my show as a platform, for you to speak. And I appreciate it, Beth. And I'm looking forward to really getting to know you as a friend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me a platform to speak.
Yes.
And a platform that I can trust. There was some that I didn't really trust, that if I'd went on there, that it would have been a good thing.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for.
That's part of the Holy Spirit. He will steer you in direction. But thank you, Beth. And I could say this with my heart. I love you. And we will definitely be connecting.
All right. Thank you. And
Okay.
I really appreciate you having me on, and I love you too.
You, Beth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I just appreciate Beth with her love and her courage to be on the show today. And please reach out to me if you have any stories like this, or if you lost a loved one during this time. I would love to hear your story, or just be able to just please comment or please email me, and just let me know what you think of the show, good or bad. So I appreciate each and every one of you, and have a good day.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Fulgens, America's gold expert and consultant for First National Reserve. Our country is in a financial crisis. Banks are failing, debt is soaring, and high inflation has people worrying about their future. The answer is to buy gold and put gold in your IRA. Gold has outperformed stocks and continues to increase in value. So call today to receive our free award-winning gold guide. Our professional representatives are standing by at 800-321-8700.
Are you tired of all the pills in your medicine cabinet? I'm Linda Bamber Olson, the creator of the Wave Watch, a more natural approach with 1,000 frequencies for mind and body. People have used the Wave Watch for kidney stones, arteries, blood, immune system, vagus nerve, myocarditis, allergies, colds and flu, ADD and ADHD, strokes, Parkinson's, carpal tunnel, thyroid, Lyme disease, and so much more. Wave Watch has a 1-year manufacturer's warranty for defects and flaws, and you can also upgrade to an additional warranty for water damage and breakage. Are you tired of all your pills and endless trips to the pharmacy? Why not try the Wave Watch with 1,000 different self-care ideas and put your mind at ease?
Just go to wavewatch.com. At checkout, use the code HEREIAM100 to receive $100 savings on your purchase.
Thank you for watching the Here I Am Show. For prayer requests, questions, or show information, email me at hereiamshow@gmail.com.